Warning, the following program has been rated T for truth.
You can't handle the truth!
Oh, we think you can. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report with your host, truth warrior and mythbuster Kathleen Wells. The place where we distinguish fact from fiction, where data is used to drive points home, and where Kathleen takes the position that Democrats and black politicians have destroyed black America. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. Now, your host, Kathleen Wells.
Oh, hi. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. I'm your host, Kathleen Wells, and I'm excited today. And we're going to have the former acting director of ICE, Thomas Homan, as our guest today. This is exciting because he knows what's going on at the border, and he's known for 30 years what's been going on. It's a crisis. In fact, I was just listening to a report from someone in Tijuana. I think they're in Tijuana, and they were talking about the fact that there are folks from 10 different countries trying to get in through the southern border of Mexico. Can you imagine? I mean, this is like unbelievable, right? How did we get to this point? We know, my truth warriors know that we've been here for decades. And now it's just, because of the way that Democrats and leftists and activists have reacted to President Trump's decision to build the wall, to control immigration, to manage our immigration policies, to change things, to make things effective and workable for the American people. Now the Democrats and the activists, the leftist activists, have made things worse. Things are exacerbated. Things are so bad now. One border agent, I was reading an article, and he said that I think his name is Hector Garza. He said that they've lost control of the border. Can you imagine? Yes, we can imagine, because we're seeing what's taking place. Well, I see my guest is on the phone, and I want to bring him on right now because we want to get right into it, okay? So my guest, as I mentioned, is the former acting director of ICE, Thomas Homan. Thomas Homan, welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm so delighted to have you. I started this show. I used to be a Democrat. I used to be a liberal. My truth warriors know that. But when I started to see the data and the numbers on how illegal aliens are adversely impacting Black America and America generally, Black America even worse because many Black Americans work in low-skilled jobs. When I began to see that illegal aliens have 90% of the construction jobs in Los Angeles, I could no longer, this is the main issue for me, I could no longer support the Democrats.
Well, look, I think, I agree with you. I mean, I had a windstorm here at my home a couple months ago. I had to call 5 different companies, and finally the 6th company would guarantee me a legal workforce. And I told them I'd check them when they got here. So, yes, and this company that showed up was a father and son, and they lost their business. They no longer do full roof jobs. They can only do repairs because they can't compete with a company that pay their illegal aliens a lot less, and they can't compete with them. They can't compete with the bids. People don't hire illegal aliens out of the goodness of their heart. They hire them to undercut the competitors, and that's just the bottom line.
And you know what? This has been going on for decades. And in fact, you've been with ICE for 30 years. Talk to me about how things have changed over these last 30 years.
There's a total, what I've done is I spent 34 years. I started out on the Border Patrol, as a Border Patrol agent on the front line for several years. Then I come up through the chain. I started out as a special agent investigating organizations that smuggle and trafficking people and drugs and guns. Then in the last 8 years, I've been in Washington, D.C. I ran an interior enforcement operation, looking for those in the country illegally detaining and removing them. And, of course, last year and a half, I was the ICE director. So I've lived the entire life cycle of illegal immigration. I know it very well. But what I've seen in the last couple of years is a total disrespect for the rule of law on the border. I always thought there's some Democrats that support open borders. They never would come out and say it. Now you have this whole new class within the Democratic Party that's flaunting the idea that we should have open borders, that ICE should not be detaining anybody, and that they support sanctuary cities where illegal aliens can go and live and be protected from ICE. The same sanctuary cities will not let a federal law enforcement officer into a taxpayer-funded jail to arrest somebody that's in the country illegally and committed a crime against U.S. citizen, and we're not even allowed access. So it's turned on its head, and the game's on right now. I mean, I think we got the best president at the best time, where we're facing this struggle with the progressive and the very liberal side of the house, and I've never seen a total disrespect for the law enforcement. Even of course, a lot of them are calling for abolishing ICE. These Democratic congressmen and senators would rather abolish a federal law enforcement agency than to do their job and fix immigration laws. I've never seen it this bad in my entire career.
Yeah, and in fact, several of the congresspersons are asking for the abolition. In fact, some of them running for president. Some of the candidates have asked for the abolition of ICE. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I mean, Kirsten Gillibrand, who's from New York. I'm a native New Yorker. I grew up in upstate New York, and she was quoted yesterday saying that I shouldn't be detaining anybody. Well, she's an idiot, because if you look at the latest statistics, the family groups that are coming across right now, 86% have failed to show up in immigration court. 86%. That's almost 9 out of every 10. So that shows you, if you don't detain them, they're just going to go into society. They're going to hide out for a few years. They'll have a U.S. citizen child. Then everybody's going to have a fit. How can you arrest somebody for 10 years as 2 U.S.C. kids? Well, because she ignored the law. She ignored a court order, and she decided to have kids. And that's the message we want to send to the rest of the world. Enter the country legally. Don't show up in court. Just go hide out for 10 years, have a couple kids. Now you're immune from the law. You get de facto amnesty. If that's the message we want to send the rest of the world, which we're sending right now, we're never going to solve the border crisis.
Yeah, and as we said, this has been going on for decades, and currently there are 10 nationalities trying to get in the southern border of Mexico. So it's like the whole world is trying to get to the U.S. because we've been...
Actually, there's over 40 nationalities in the pipeline based on intelligence reports. 40. We got citizens and nationals from the Caribbean nations, from the African nations, from Central and South America, and European nations. I mean, last year when I was the ICE director, we removed people to almost 138 different countries last year. 138 different countries. Based on the recent intelligence reports, there's 40 nationalities in the pipeline from South America to the United States through Central America. 40. So, and that's an estimate based on intelligence reports from our attaché offices down there. So the whole world recognizes the border's in chaos. The whole world recognizes the border's open right now. However, everybody realizes there's a problem on the border, except for the Democratic leadership, who hasn't offered up one idea, one fix. And they refuse to help this president build a border barrier. They refuse to give him the wall. They refuse, and at the same time, they refuse to fund the barriers and the manpower needed. They have not yet funded one additional Border Patrol agent in the last 2 years. And on top of that, they want to abolish ICE. They want to push sanctuary cities. They want to give people free college tuition or in-state college tuition, driver's licenses, free medical care in New York and California. And they wonder why we have an immigration problem.
And in fact, Barbara Jordan, who used to be but she was a Democrat from Texas, she talked about this. She had a commission in the 90s, and she talked about this, how American citizens are first. American citizens are first, and we have to have we have to secure our borders. Barbara Jordan talked about it. Well, now Sheila Jackson Lee has her seat, and she takes the position that the Democrats take.
Oh, Sheila Jackson Lee, when I was ICE director, I had more problems with her than just about anybody. But what's going on in the southern border right now, I've done this for 34 years. This is the worst I've seen in my career. Have we arrested 1 million people before the year? Yes. Back in the 80s, when I was in Border Patrol, we arrested, 1 million people. But the difference between now and then is that 95% of the million were Mexican nationals. who we would process within a half hour, return to Mexico within an hour. And when I was a Border Patrol agent, I caught the same illegal alien 4 times in one shift. They just turn around and try to sneak to another part. So even though it was a million, we removed 95% of them, and most of them were repeat. So it might not have been a million entries, might have been 500,000 people. And on top of that, for the million that's coming this year, the 1 million we're dealing with this year, they're not going home because they can't be detained because of court decisions. Congress is refusing to close the loopholes so we can detain them long enough to see a judge. They're not going home. So this million population is going to be in the United States, undercutting American wages, taking advantage of our social services. Our children, classrooms are going to be crowded. Emergency room trauma centers will start to shut down because they can't afford to give free medical care all the time, but they're going to pass on to people like you and I who have medical insurance. This is going to be devastating.
It's going to be devastating, and you can't turn them around because they're coming in as they're alleging to be family members. Is that correct?
The Ninth Circuit ruled a couple of years ago that you cannot detain a child for over 20 days, even if that child is with a parent. Now, let me explain to your listeners. Back in FY14, when these family groups first started surging, I built family detention centers, and we held them for about 45 days. 90% of them lost their case. We filled several planes up in Central and Central America, and guess what happened? The numbers on the border dropped dramatically because we showed we had a consequence of deterrence. Then the Ninth Circuit said, we're going to only allow you to detain in 20 days. In my affidavit, that law, I said, if you do this, if you don't allow us to detain when all of us to see a judge, you're going to see a surge on the border like you never saw before. Of course, the court called me a fearmonger. I had no evidence of this. Well, guess who was right? They made that ruling. Now we can't hold long enough to see a judge. So there more are coming because they know they're going to be released into the United States. So
what do you think about Trump's immigration plan? I think Lindsey Graham said something. He wants to increase that to 100 days.
Look, I like President Trump's plan. I was at the White House last week and got briefed on it. I think it's a great start. What I like about his plan is number one, front and center is border security. He wants to close the loopholes that we've been talking about the last few minutes. He wants to be able to detain families long as to see a judge. Look, I have no problem with anybody come to this country and claim an asylum. They have the right to do that. They have the right to see a judge. There's only one way you can guarantee to see a judge, if we detain them long enough. And if they're really escaping fear and persecution, if they're really escaping death, they wouldn't mind sitting in a family detention center. It's not a jail. It's a family dorm setting to see a judge complete their case. So that's not what they want. But I like the president's plan. I think it's a great start. I think, at bringing people with better education and work experience and talent, which this country needs. And one thing that no one's talking about, I said, well, he's getting away from the family visas. No, he's not. If you look at the plan, what he's talking about is a nuclear family. Mother, father, son, daughter, parents, children. That's priority on the family visas. What he's trying to put aside is their grandmother, their cousin, their brother-in-law, which, the family visa has gotten out of control. So he wants to keep it to the nuclear family, and that's what we're prioritizing it. It protects the American workforce. It's going to raise the wages. There's a couple of economists in there, renowned economists within the meeting during the briefing, and they said this plan will also raise our GDP and raise our tax base. It's a great plan. Now, Lindsey Graham has something a little bit different, something more aggressive. I like that because Lindsey Graham wants to go after loopholes right now. He wants to hold them up to 100 days. It won't take 100 days. It'll take 40, 45 days, but hold them long enough to see a judge. If they get a yes, they come in the United States. Welcome. But 90% will get a no. We send them home. Once you start doing that, you're going to see the border numbers drop dramatically. As far as the children, in the FY19 DHS, after the government shut down, President opened it back up, and this committee got together. Democrats put language in the bill saying that ICE can no longer arrest, investigate, or put someone in immigration proceedings, no parent or sponsor of a UAC. Before then, ICE was investigating the parent sponsors and to see if they're hiring a criminal organization, smuggling a child, which is a felony. If they're illegal alien, put them in the immigration court with a child. Let them plead their case together as a family. An 8-year-old should be standing in front of the judge pleading a case. The parents should be there with them, especially if they're in the country illegally. I call that parenting 101, first of all, and that's the way they should do it. However, the Democrats put language in and say ICE can no longer do this. So I said the day that bill was signed, it says you're going to see the children, the UAC numbers, unaccompanied alien children numbers surge like you've never seen it before, because now the parents and sponsors can't be held accountable. So anybody else thinking that maybe ICE would arrest them or investigate them, that's off the table now. So that's why the UAC numbers are at an all-time historic high, because the Democrats wrote language that was designed that way. This whole border, ignoring the border isn't an accident, it's by design. Mm-hmm. That's why they want the citizenship question in the census. Mm-hmm. All these people coming across are going to sanctuary cities. That's going to lock up their electoral college. It's going to help them in the future elections. Mm-hmm. This is bigger than most people can imagine.
Mm-hmm. So basically, you're saying it's just about power and control. The Democrats want power and control, and this is one
absolutely.
Changing the demographics.
None of these senators or congressmen are stupid people. They're intelligent. They got elected to office. You can't tell me they can't look at the same news shows and videos you and I see, look at the same numbers that come out every week, and not agree there's a crisis. But they still say it's a manufactured crisis. They still want to ignore it. They haven't offered up one idea. They haven't done one thing to help this president try to stem the flow. This is all about power. This is all about the 2020 election. They want to see this president fail on the border. It was his number one promise. So they stand up in 2020 and says, your number one promise you failed on. This is about hating this president more than love their country. This is about hating this president more than taking their responsibility to protect this country and secure our border.
Yeah, this is about hating the president. And aren't there something like 900,000 illegal aliens that have deportation orders, and they've just refused, 900,000 in a backlog, and they've just refused to leave?
Yeah, when I left ICE, we had, as far as fugitive aliens that had final orders that had failed to depart, there was over 600,000. So by now, in a year, it's probably about 800. But then you got another million out there that are overstays. Their visas that need to be apprehended. But you got at least 800,000 in this country who had due process at great taxpayer expense, and a judge ordered them removed, and they failed to leave. If you and I ignore the federal judge's order, what would happen to us?
Right.
Again, Congress won't fund ICE, the number of beds they need to detain these people. They haven't increased ICE's budget for one additional special agent or deportation officer. They know exactly what they're doing.
So in other words, they refuse to leave, and you can't find them. Is that what it is, or what?
No, they're in the wind, right? So these people, if you're illegal in the United States, you don't have a big footprint, because most of them don't buy a home. Most of them they work under the table. So Social Security checks don't help. There's certain databases we have. I won't get into it because law enforcement is sensitive. How we find people, whether it's through a Social Security number or wages to the Social Security Administration, credit card bills, utility bills. There's ways in certain databases that help us locate people. But they got a very small electronic footprint because they do everything by cash. They use a stolen Social Security number. So it's really hard to locate these people. And once we do, it takes several years to find them. And in several years, they've had 1 or 2 USC kids. Then all of a sudden, Democrats say, well, why are you arresting this person who's been here 10 years, has 3 USC kids? Mm-hmm. Well, because he had to due process 10 years ago, he ignored the judge's order. He went and had these children knowing he was in the United States illegally, knowing he was order removed, but he went and had these kids hoping that helped his case to stay here. So that was the biggest issue when I was ICE director. They said, well, ICE is arresting more non-criminals than criminals now. Wrong. We arrest more criminals than non-criminals. However, we did arrest more non-criminals, and when they asked me why, I said, because they had an order from the judge, so we had to leave. If those orders don't mean anything, if this whole system where we pay billions of dollars to set up border security, immigration court, detention, if the final order from a federal judge doesn't mean anything, then there's no integrity in the entire system. Just open up the border and let them all come.
Yeah, there's no integrity.
When the judge issues an order, our job is to execute that order.
Yeah, you must have rule of law. There's no integrity in the system whatsoever. So the Democrats are basically just manipulating the American people so that they can power and control.
The Democrats are lying to the American people. I watched Biden's campaign yesterday. I was actually in the Fox green room where he says, he talks about what a terrible person Trump was for ripping children out of the arms of their parents. Let me be clear. I've been doing this 34 years. Family separation happened under President Obama, too. And I'll tell you something else. The family detention centers I spoke of, we had 100 beds when President Obama came in office. We built 3,000 more beds under the instruction and the guidance and approval of the White House. So family detention increased 3,000%. Families were separated under President Obama. I was at the White House. I was in a situation one time where they wanted me to go arrest children who had final orders, take them out of their home in the United States, away from their parents, and deport them. I mean, so for them to stand up in cages, they keep saying we get these cages, get these cages. Those cages are built in FY 15 when President Obama was the president. So when Joe Biden sat there and talking about what a terrible administration is, no, this administration is using the same facilities that were built in the Obama administration. And I'm not going to apologize for it. I mean, you know, again, you got to have rule of law. You know, when we were detaining families and we were able to see a judge 90%, you know, lost and they got removed, the numbers went down. It's only now that because the Ninth Circuit, we can't remove them so they don't stay long enough to see a judge.
When did that
as far as the family separation, it really wasn't family separation. It was zero tolerance. So when you charge somebody with a crime, entering this country legally is a crime. Sessions said you enter this country legally with a child, we're going to charge you with a crime. If you come to your port of entry, you won't be charged with a crime.
And
so you're charged with a crime, they go to custody U.S. Marshal, child has to go to ORR. Now, it was a terrible, sad thing. I get it. But you and I drove tonight DUI, and we got a child in the car. We're going to jail. That child's going to go to Child Protective Services. It happens to American families all the time. And one thing no one talks about is during that zero-tolerance policy, that 3 weeks that was going on, border numbers dropped 26%. If they would have did it for another month, we wouldn't have these caravans or this issue today.
No, you know, I have no empathy for these folks. I don't kids because 32% of black kids are in poverty. I think Americans should be first. That's the end of the story. You're intentional, and I'm not even for the Dreamers to get amnesty because it's.
We agree on that. We agree on that because I've done this for 34 years. I keep saying I know, but I've done it for 34 years, and this country has shown over and over again that we reward illegal behavior.
Exactly.
So when we had the last amnesty. So all these families come across. First of all, let's make something clear. All these families started coming across right after they passed DACA.
Right.
So now you start bringing your kids. Say, well, look, these children got some sort of status. So let's bring our children. We'll be in the next DACA.
Right.
So these 200,000 family units that crossed last year, they're in the next DACA population in 10 years. So if we give them a fix, you're going to have more families come because everyone's waiting for that. Because we've shown, this country's shown over and over again, you hide out long enough, you violate the law long enough, we'll give you something.
Right. It's unending. And now we have the whole world at the southern border in Mexico. And in fact, the new president, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, what is his, I've heard that he's a socialist. What is his position? What has he told President Trump that he's going to do? Do you know?
I don't think anybody really knows right now. I mean, he says he's going to be kind of regenerative, and they said they're going to stop these groups on the southern border, and they didn't. Then they said they're going to, but he has agreed to a few things. He has agreed to the Wait in Mexico program where people who claim asylum, they can wait in Mexico to their hearing. Now, that's going really slow, and the numbers aren't big enough to make a difference, but hopefully that enlarges, gets bigger. So he's offered some things. There are actually a couple of thousand illegal aliens from Central America actually were offered asylum in Mexico, and they took it. So they're doing some things, but nowhere near what they should be doing. Look, criminal gangs in Mexico are operating with impunity. Nothing happens on the northern border of Mexico without breaching the palm of the criminal drug cartels. 1/3 of the women. Doctors Without Borders did a study. This is not a government number. It's Doctors Without Borders number. 31% of all women are sexually assaulted during that trip. Children are dying. Criminal cartels are getting rich. And in Mexico, it's illegal in the country of Mexico to traffic in women and children. So why isn't Mexico shutting down these criminal cartels? We have offered to help send agents down there to dismantle these organizations. So Mexico's going to do a hell of a lot more than they're doing. They need to do it. This isn't just about, I know we've been talking about enforcing the law for the last 10 minutes. This just isn't about enforcing the law. This is about saving lives. In my 34 years, I've seen plenty of dead illegal aliens that were left stranded by smugglers. I stood in back with tractor trailer with 19 dead aliens with a 5-year-old child that suffocated to death at my feet. I've seen enough tragedy in my 34 years that if we can fix this border and stop bankrolling these criminal cartels that have killed border agents and special agents and smuggled guns and drugs in this country, along with people, if we can put a stop to this and control this border, we're going to save thousands and thousands of lives.
Yeah, this is also about saving lives. There's my music. Thomas, can you stay on a while to take some questions? Are you open to that?
Sure.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm speaking with the former acting director of ICE, Thomas Homan. You guys see him all the time on Fox. He's fantastic. He's giving us the 411 on what's going down at the border and what's going on with the Democrats, how they're lying to the American people, folks. The Democrats are lying to the American people. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll open up the phone calls, the phone line, and you can ask Thomas a question. The number is 866-870-5752. This is Kathleen Wells of the Naked Truth Report. We'll be right back.
People moving out, people moving in.
Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. I'm Kathleen Wells, your host, and my guest is Thomas Homan, the former acting director of ICE. He was appointed as director by Trump in 2017. He's been with ICE for 30 years, a little longer, right, Thomas?
Yeah, I started in Border Patrol in 1984, so I got 34 years I enforced immigration law.
And he says this is the worst he's ever seen before. And it's about saving lives also. Why don't we take a call now from Ron in Covina. Hi, Ron. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. Do you have a question for Thomas? Hi, Ron.
Wanted to find out about something I hadn't heard about for a long time, and that's amnesty. And I was wondering if your guest knows anything about whether or not there's still talk about trying to get amnesty, or is that dead?
Well, I think the Hill's so divided on that. I know Democrats are pushing for amnesty. I hate to see it happen. Again, when you reward illegal behavior, then this vicious cycle just continues. I mean, I've seen it. I mean, in 34 years, I've lived through one amnesty. I've lived through DACA. We've seen what happened with DACA. As soon as DACA was passed in FY12, the illegal families started coming in FY13 because they've seen it, and they won't come. They want to take advantage of the next DACA. So I think we need to stick with the law, enforce the law. Of course, I can't control Congress. Congress can come up with anything they want. We'll certainly enforce what they come up with, but I just leave this with the overarching message. Every time you reward illegal behavior, you can't expect illegal behavior to stop.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Why don't we take a call from Robert in Granada Hills? Hi, Robert. You have a question about trade.
Good evening, Kathleen.
I'm sorry?
Yes, I have a question. In the light of most Lowe's and Home Depot stores, big box stores have an enormous amount of folks there looking for work, and these are normally immigrants, aliens that have come in. And how do we stop that? In some communities, they actually have restricted the gathering of those around the entries of these stores. How do we stop that? And I also have another comment, but how do we stop that? How can we get Lowe's and Home Depot and stores like that to guard against the population of those areas?
Yeah, how can we? Should we be penalizing employers?
That's actually a really good question. So I'll share. I've been asking for E-Verify for a decade now, and of course Congress is fighting. No, they don't want E-Verify. E-Verify would be a system where an employer would have to check the government's database to make sure the person they're hiring is able to work in the United States illegally. But until Congress can fix that, there is something you can do as a citizen. First of all, you can always call ICE at their hotline and report illegal labor. The last year I was there as the director, I increased worksite enforcement by 400%. And it put a big dent in it, but they got to increase it more, which they're doing right now, so they're targeting big employers. But what you can do as a citizen is you can actually go to a website. It's a government website on E-Verify, e-verify.gov. You go to this website, you can actually run contracts with employers on this website and find out if they're a member of E-Verify. So what I've done is, after my little experiment with the roofing company, you can go on this. Let's say you're going to do business with A&A Plumbing. You can check them on E-Verify, and if they're not a member of E-Verify, call them up and tell them, look, I was going to hire you, but you're not a member of E-Verify. And we can boycott these big companies that want to hire illegal aliens. I've said it 1,000 times. No one hires an illegal alien out of the kindness of their heart. They hire them to undercut their competitors and not pay unemployment taxes and the federal taxes they're supposed to. So as a citizen, what you can certainly do is go to e-verify.gov and see if these people are employing illegal, if they're a member of E-Verify. If they're not, boycott them. But as far as these people on the street corners looking for work, call your local ICE office, and they should be taking action on it, unless your city has some sort of ordinance. There's actually some cities, like in Austin, Texas, they actually set up the city actually set up a place, city property, where trucks can drive into the city property and hire people, and it would take a warrant for us to enter that property. But, you can certainly, as a citizen, always call ICE. You can certainly check e-verify.gov and hold the employers accountable. I will not hire a company unless I remember e-verify. I'll do it myself. I've got doing this for 34 years, I've seen it in 34 years. I took a step forward and said, I want to hold them accountable myself. I can't wait for Congress.
Right. Okay.
That's very good. Thank you very much. Kathleen, I'm going to email you because I have another 2 corporations, and I'm actually trying. I have Trades Technical Institute. I'm actually trying to get those who are interested in learning the trades.
Okay.
So I know you're very supportive of the Black Nation, and I am too. And I'm very, very pro our Black people, and I want to give them every opportunity I can.
Okay, sounds good, Robert. Email me. Let's take Melinda. She wants to know, why can't they fingerprint illegals? Hi, Melinda.
Hi. Yeah, it was just a real simple question. I just don't understand why they can't do fingerprinting the illegals across the border, and then that'd be a way you could possibly track them down.
No, everybody's apprehended by Border Patrol's fingerprint. It's done electronically with a 5-print. Back in my day, we had to use, the only time we fingerprinted somebody is if we're going to charge them with a crime, there would be old ink rolls. But now everybody gets fingerprinted, goes into a database. But again, the fingerprints doesn't help you find somebody unless they've taken fingerprints someplace else to get a job. So your fingerprints will be added to the database. And one thing that fingerprints helps on is it goes into our DHS database. So let's say, 10 years from now, you get arrested by a police department. Every police department, when they fingerprint somebody, they run the fingerprints through NCIC. With Secure Communities, the system we started about a decade ago, when they run those prints against NCIC, they automatically get sent to DHS, run through our databases. So if an illegal alien has been arrested by the Border Patrol for a crime, we'll find out about it.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thomas, I wanted to ask you about, it just slipped my mind. I had something on my mind. I wanted to ask you, are they doing DNA testing of the family members?
They just started because of the number of fake family units we found. I've been pushing for DNA testing and fingerprinting of children for the last 7-8 years, but under the last administration, they certainly want to do it. They're afraid of privacy concerns. But I told them, we're talking about children are being trafficked. Like right now, there's children that are being rented over and over again. They're being rented to single adults claiming to be a family. Then once the adult gets released into the United States, the child goes back and rented again. Mm-hmm. So some of these children are being abused. They're being trafficked. Matter of fact, during the family separation thing, last year, when a judge in the Ninth Circuit said you got to reunite the first 102 children that were under age 5, 7 of those children, of the 102, 7 of the 102, when the DNA test came back, they weren't even the parents they were with. They were traffickers. Mm-hmm. So based on that, we pushed, and now they're doing a trial run in several large sectors and doing DNA testing. And they've already found that almost 30% of the families aren't really families.
Yeah, they had 2 cases recently reported of attempted kidnapping of kids in Los Angeles. I'm thinking they were probably maybe going to take them to be rented out, You
never know. I mean,
yeah.
I know we've had some cases of children, rented out in Central America. And we had one case, the mother rented her child for $125. Mm-hmm. And that child was used over and over again to enter the United States with different adult males and females. I mean, I know some people may be desperate, but to put your child in the hands of a stranger, I don't think is the answer. So, again, I think it's important that we ascertain if we're really family members.
How many?
And look, the last 2 children that died, we've had 3 children dying now entering the country, and the parents in Central America understand it's a dangerous journey. And again, 31% of all women get sexually assaulted. These criminal organizations don't give 2 squats for these people. All they are to them is making money.
Right. And I saw it's a dangerous journey, actually. I saw there was one report that I saw of people crossing the Rio Grande, the river there, and how some people they want to get caught by ICE because then they know that they can get turned in and stay in the United States. They want to get...
Yeah, a lot of these people, they're not trying to get around the Border Patrol. And that's one thing that this is why this family surge is so important, that it's more than a humanitarian crisis, it's a national security crisis. What the cartels are doing, they'll push 100 or 200 family units in one sector of the border, tie up all the Border Patrol assets to deal with these family groups. And while the Border Patrol is tied up with this issue here, with 200 family groups, they're moving drugs and bad people to another area that aren't family units. These are MS-13 gang members. These are criminals. The people that don't want to get caught turn themselves over to Border Patrol. So they're sneaking through an unguarded portion of the border. And you said earlier, I heard you in the show, there's many parts of the border now that are unguarded. 40% of all guys, men and women that are on the front line, 40% of them have been pulled from the front line to make formula, change diapers, take family units to hospitals and clinics. I mean, we got 40% less border patrols on the border today because of the family crisis. So this is more than just a humanitarian crisis. It has created a national security crisis on our border.
Yes, and in fact, it was Hector Garza, U.S. Border Patrol agent Hector Garza, says, we've lost control of the border. They've lost control.
They lost it in many areas. I mean, I tell you something else. The surge is continuing. ICE has run out of beds. Congress doesn't want to fund them any more beds, so which means very soon you're going to see single adults start being released. And when they start releasing single adults on top of the families and the children, then we've lost the border, and that's coming. It's coming.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that there's approximately 12 million illegal aliens in the United States?
I think there's more. 12 million is kind of a recognized number. I say there's between 12 and 20. Mm-hmm. Look, we don't know what we don't know. I mean, the Border Patrol at one point thought they had, 68% of the border secure, which means, almost 30% of the border was not secure. There are they call them gotaways. There are people we see all the time. You read a story, especially in California, if that's the same sort of state there, that someone gets arrested, they've been deported 3 or 4 times. A lot of people are able to get by the Border Patrol. It may take them more than one try, but there's a lot of people that get by the Border Patrol. So I think the number is much higher than 12 million myself. I don't know what that number is, but based on my experience, I would say between 12 and 20, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Hi, Mark in Pasadena. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Yeah, hi. I was going to say it's like somehow there needs to be another way besides Fox News, because I watch it all the time, but a lot of people just, they hear the name Fox News and they automatically think, oh, you're just a bunch of racists or something against, immigrants. And so they just ignore everything, all the facts, but, and people need to realize it's raising the cost of everything, our insurance and everything, because when I moved from the Midwest to the West Coast here, and I lived in Las Vegas also, and all the illegals go to where the construction work is, and they're taking a lot of the jobs.
Yeah, do you have a question, Mark? Do you have a question for Thomas?
Yeah, and I don't know, is there a way to get the news out more than just Fox News, and also like maybe start up some different websites or some other kind of online news to get it out there on social media to educate people a little more about it, how it's affecting everybody, not just what they think. And also there needs to be some law for there a way?
Okay. Is there a way to expose this more than just Fox News, Thomas?
Look, I'll be honest with you. Look, when I retired, I went with Fox News because Fox News tells the truth about this stuff. And,
right.
I'm not going to look at everything Fox does, but when I was a director and they interviewed me, they let me answer the questions, and they always play the full response. I got interviewed by many, MSNBC, CNN, and it seems like they were less honest on my responses, and it seemed to cut and paste a lot of things you say. Mm-hmm. I did one interview with Wolf Blitzer when I was the ICE director, and we went at it for 20 minutes. I was never invited back because I stuck to my guns of what the issue was. So I think there's a lot of networks that don't want to, speak the truth, especially when it comes to immigration enforcement. Immigration enforcement is very controversial. It's always been very controversial and a very emotional subject for this country. And there's some stations just don't want to talk about it. That's why I'm out here, even though I do a lot on Fox. I will take every invite. I don't care who they are, and I mean that. A conservative talk show, a liberal radio show. I've never said no to an interview because even if they don't like what I say, even if they don't want to believe what I say, I want to say it. I mean, I had 80 protesters at my house here on a Sunday morning when I was vice director. You know, and I'm certainly not going to be bullied and stop saying and doing I'm doing or saying because I did it for 34 years. You know, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I know this issue. I've worked this issue for 3 decades, from the front line to the back line, and I'm not going to stop talking about it because this country's in trouble.
Right.
We finally got a president that believes, you know, in the security of this country. I worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. I respect every president I ever worked for because they're the president. We've lost that in this last election because a lot of people don't respect the office of the president anymore. But I respected every president. But no president has done more to try to secure this border than this president. That's
Right. Well, you know, I wish that, Black Americans has been devastated by illegal aliens, specifically in Los Angeles. So I would wish that Fox would focus more. I wish you could get me on Fox so I could talk about the devastation. I know all the data. As I said, the Los Angeles building inspector has talked about the fact that 90% of the illegal construction and trade jobs are held by illegal aliens in Los Angeles. Black Americans make up 40% of the homeless in Los Angeles. This is absurd. And I think it needs to be said. But why don't we take one more call? More people need to hear this. This is what I want to say. More people need to hear.
You have your producer send me an email. I'll try to set up a meet.
Oh, great. I really appreciate it. I'll do that for sure. Let's take one more call from Evelyn in Irvine. Hi, Evelyn.
Hi, Kathleen. Thanks for your program. One of the continuing problems with illegal immigration is birthright citizenship. People come over here to have a citizen child, but that's wrong. According to the 14th Amendment, citizenship was denied to the children of ambassadors and foreign diplomats and aliens. So these anchor babies are false citizens, and they're holding the illegal family here.
I can't disagree with you. I mean, that's a big issue. A lot of people come here. Look, when the family groups started coming in 15, when we did an operation, we went and looked for family groups that had final orders of removal. They lost their case. And I did that to show we had a consequence. Once we did that operation, we removed a couple plane loads of family groups that had their hearings and lost. And the numbers went down on the border again, because every time we did an operation like that, it showed a consequence when it turns. It certainly has an effect. But, you know, we went and looked for those. We had 200 family units we were looking for, 200 family groups. Do you know about 30% of them were either pregnant or had a U.S. citizen child since they've been here? Mm-hmm. They know this. Look, a lot of people say illegal aliens don't use welfare and food stamps and public service. That is just wrong. They don't qualify for welfare. They're in the States illegally, but their U.S. children, U.S. citizen children do.
Right.
So that is a big farce. So I don't disagree with you that having birthright, having a baby here, making a U.S. citizen, is a big issue in this country, and it's one of the things. It's a pull factor. It's a magnet.
Oops, did we lose? Well, and that's something that I think should be brought to the Supreme Court again. Trump mentioned that he would like to bring this anchor baby business back to the Supreme Court. It's a violation of the 14th Amendment.
Well, I think it's going to be, look, if I had to guess, I think it's something that's going to be talked about a lot more in the next couple of years.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And it should be.
Yeah, it should be. Because the 14th Amendment was specifically intended for the direct descendants of slaves. That's clear in the Slaughterhouse case, and the Democrats have bastardized the 14th Amendment. It's unforgivable. And my job is to get black folks off of the Democratic Party. We're like crazy to me if we continue down this road. This is why I appreciate Candace Owens. Oh.
Yeah, I think she went down to our detention facilities that everybody's calling.
Yeah.
They're like concentration camps. They're terrible places. She went down there and dispelled those rumors and talked about how good these family groups have it under extraordinary circumstances and extraordinary cost. I mean, a family bed is running between $300 and $500 per bed per night. You and I can stay at the Taj Mahal for less than that. So, we spend a lot of money in these family detention centers. I mean, the family detention center, we got child psychologists on site, we got pediatricians on site, we got doctors and nurses, we have educational systems on site. So a lot of money spent in these family detention centers. So when people say we don't provide care for these people, ICE spends $500 million on medical care in their facilities every year. So a lot of times the first doctors these people ever see, the doctor we give them, the first vaccinations they ever get is the ones we give them. So we take very good care of these people.
Well, Thomas Homan, there's my music. I want to thank you very much for coming on the Naked Truth Report, and I'll have you on again. You're the expert. You know what you're talking about. And I know my Truth Warriors, my listeners, really appreciate the information you've given us. Thanks again.
Well, I appreciate what you're doing. Keep educating American people. We need more people like you out there talking.
Sounds good to me. Thank you again. So that was Thomas Homan's former acting director of ICE. This is the Naked Truth Report. I'm your host, Kathleen Wells, and we'll be back next week with something fantastic. Okay? Thank you. See you next week. Bye.